Read the Bible every day so you'll be full of faith. Welcome you to join Bible Race to read the entire Bible in 2 years. I believe God will bless you, He will lift you up, and your life will never be the same.
Book of Numbers chapter 31 and 32. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Avenge the people of Israel on the Midianites. Afterwards you shall be gathered to your people. So Moses spoke to the people, saying, Arm men from among you for the war, that they may go against the Midian to execute Lord's vengeance on Midian. You shall send 1,000 from each of the tribes of the Israel to the war. So there were provided, out of the thousands of Israel, 1,000 from each tribe, 12,000 armed for war. Moses sent them to the war, 1,000 from each tribe, together with Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the priest, with the vessels of sanctuaries and trumpets for the alarm in his hand. They war against Midian, as the Lord commanded Moses, and killed every male. They killed the kings of Midian with the rest of their slain, Evi, Rakim, Zor, Hor, and Reba. The 5 kings of Midian. They also killed Balaam and the sons of Beor with the sword. And the people of Israel took captive the women of Midian and their little ones, and they took as plunder all their cattle, their flocks, and all their goods. All their cities and the places they lived in, all their encampments they burned with fire, and took all the spoil and all the plunder, both of men and of beasts. Then they brought the captives and then plundered and spoiled to Moses, and Eleazar the priest, and to the congregation of people of Israel, and at the camp on the plains of Moab, by Jordan's at Jericho. Moses and Eleazar the priest and all the chiefs of the congregations went to meet them outside of the camp. And Moses was angry with the officer of the army, the commanders of the thousands, and the commanders of hundreds, that he come from service in the war. Moses says to them, Have you let all the women live? Behold, these Balaam's advice caused the people of Israel to act treacherously against the Lord in the incident of Peor. And so the plague came among the congregation of the Lord. Now therefore, kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman who has known men by lying with them. But all the young girls who have not known men by lying with them, and kept alive for yourselves, encamp outside of the camp 7 days. Whoever of you has killed any person, or whatsoever hath touched any slain, purify yourselves and your captives on the 3rd day and on the 7th day, that you shall purify every garment, every article of skin, and all works of goat's hair, and every article of wood. Then Eleazar the priest said to the men in the armies that who have gone to battle, This is the statute of the law that the Lord has commanded Moses. Only the gold, the silver, the bronze, the iron, the tin, and the lead, everything that can stand the fire, you shall pass through the fire, and you shall be clean. Nevertheless, it shall also be purified with water for impurity. And whatever cannot stand the fire, you shall pass through the water. You must wash your clothes on the 7th day, that you shall be clean, and afterwards you may come into the camp. The Lord said to Moses, Take the count of the plunder, and that was taken, both of men and of beasts, and you and Eleazar the priest and the heads of the fathers' houses of the congregations, and divided the plunder into 2 parts, between the warriors, for who those went out to battle, and all the congregations, and levy for the Lord a tribute from the men of war who went out to battle. One out of the 500 of the people of the oxen and of the donkeys of the flocks. Take it from their halves and give it to Eleazar the priest as a contribution to the Lord. And from the people of Israel's half you shall take 1 drachm out of every 50, and of the people, and of the oxen, of the donkeys, and of the flocks, and all of the cattle, and give them to the Levites, who keep guard over the tabernacle of the Lord. Then Moses and Eleazar the priest did as the Lord commanded Moses. Now the plunder remaining of the spoil that the army took was 670,000 sheep, and 72,000 cattle, 61,000 donkeys, and 32,000 persons in all, women who had not known men by lying with them. In the half, the portion of those who have gone out in the army numbered 337,500 sheep. In the Lord's tribute of sheep was 675. The cattle were 36,000, of which the Lord's tribute was 72. The donkeys were 30,500, of which the Lord's tribute was 61. The persons were 16,000, of which the Lord's tribute was 32 persons. And Moses gave the tribute, which was the contributions for the Lord, to Eleazar the priest, and as the Lord commanded Moses. From the people of Israel's half, which Moses separated from that of the men who had served in the army, now the congregation's half was 37,500 sheep, and 36,000 cattle, and 30,500 donkeys, and 16,000 persons. From the people of Israel's half, Moses took one of every 50, both of the persons of the beasts, and gave them to the Levites, who kept guards over the tabernacle of the Lord, as the Lord commanded Moses. Then the officers who were over the thousands of the enemies, the commanders of thousands, and the commanders of hundreds, came near to Moses and said to Moses, "Your servants have counted the men of war who are under our command, and there's not a man missing from us. And we have brought the Lord's offerings. What each man found, articles of gold, armlets, and bracelets, signet rings, earrings, beads, and make atonement for ourselves before the Lord." And Moses and Eleazar the priest received them the gold, all crafted articles, and all the gold of the contributions that they presented to the Lord from the commanders of thousands and the commanders of hundreds was 16,750 shekels. The men in the armies had each taken plunder for himself. And Moses and Eleazar the priest received gold from the commanders of the thousands, of the hundreds, and brought it into the tent of meeting as a memorial for the people of Israel before the Lord. Now the people of Reuben and the people of Gad had a very great numbers of livestock, and they saw the land of Jazer and the land of Gilead, and behold, the place was a place for livestock. So the people of Gad and the people of Reuben came and said to Moses and Eleazar, the priests and the chiefs of the congregations, Atharoth, Dibant, Jazer, Nimroth, Hasbont, and Elieleth, Sabant, and Nibald, and beyond. The land that the Lord struck down before the congregation of Israel is a land for livestock, and your servants have livestock. And they say, if we have found favor in your sight, let this land be given to your servants for possession. Do not take us across the Jordan. Moses said to the people of Gad and to the people of Reuben, shall your brothers go to the war while you sit here? Why will you discourage the heart of the people of Israel from going over into the land that the Lord has given them? Your fathers did this, and when I sent them from Kadesh Barnea to see on the land, and from whence they went up to the valley of Eshcol and saw the land, and then discouraged the heart of the people of Israel from going into the land that the Lord has given them. And the Lord's anger was kindled on that day, and he swore, saying, surely none of the men who came up out of Egypt from the 20-year-old and upward shall see the land that I swore to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, because they have not wholly followed me. None except Caleb and the son of Jephunneh, and also Kenizzite, and Joshua and the son of Nun, and for they have wholly followed the Lord. And the Lord's anger was kindled against Israel, and he made them wander in the wilderness 40 years, until all the generations that has gone evil in the sight of the Lord was gone. And behold, you have risen in your father's place, and brought up sinful men, and increased still more of the fierce anger of the Lord against Israel. For if you turn away from following him, he will again abandon them in the wilderness, and you will destroy all this people. Then they came near to him and said, we will build sheepfolds here for our livestock and the cities for our little ones. But we will take up arms, ready to go before the people of Israel until we have brought them to their place. And our little ones shall live in the fortified cities because of the inhabitants of the land. That we will not return to our homes until each of the person of Israel has gained his inheritance. For we will not inherit from them on the other side of the Jordans and beyond, because our inheritance has come to us on this side of Jordan to the east. So Moses says to them, if you will do this, you will take up arms to go before the Lord for the war, and every army of you will pass over the Jordan before the Lord until he has driven his enemies from before him, and in the land is subdued before the Lord. Then after you shall return and be freed of obligations to the Lord and to Israel, and his land shall be your possession before the Lord. But if you will not do so, behold, you have sinned against the Lord, and be sure that your sin will find you out. Build cities for your little ones, and fold for your sheep, and do what you have promised. And the people of Gad and the people of Reuben said to Moses, your servants will do as my Lord commands. Our little ones, our wives, our livestock, and all our cattle shall remain there in the cities of Gilead. But your servants will pass over every man who is armed for war before the Lord to battle, as my Lord orders. So Moses gave command concerning them to Eleazar the priest, and to Joshua the son of Nun, and the head of the fathers' households of the tribes of the people of Israel. And Moses said to them, if the people of Gad and the people of Reuben and every man who is armed to battle before the Lord will pass with you over the Jordans, and the land shall be subdued before you, then you shall give to them the land of Gilead for a possession. However, if they will not pass over with you armed, then they shall have possessions among you in the land of Canaan. And the people of Gad and the people of Reuben answers, what the Lord has said to your servants, we will do. We'll pass over armed before the Lord into the land of Canaan, and possessions of our inheritance shall remain with us beyond the Jordans. And Moses gave to them, to the people of Gad and to the people of Reuben, and to the half-tribe of Manasseh, and the son of Joseph, in the kingdoms of Shihon, king of the Amorites, and in the kingdoms of Og, king of Bashan, in the land of its cities and their territories, in the cities of the lands throughout the countries. And the people of Gad built Dibon, Ataroth, and Aror, and Shaphan, Josar, and Jabahat, in Benamah, and Beth-horon, fortified cities and folds for the sheep. And the people of Reuben built Heshbon, Elealel, and Kirathim, Nepals, and Belmian, and to Sebat, and give them the names to the cities that they built. And the sons of Machar and the sons of Manasseh went to Gilead and captured it, and they possessed the Amorites who were in it. And Moses gave to Gilead to the Machar and the son of Manasseh, and he settled in it. And then the Jared sons of Manasseh went into to capture their villages and called them Havajar. Noba went into the captures Kenath and his villages and called it Noba, after his own name. Amen. The following is the English translations of Pastor Moen Wu's teaching on the book of Numbers, chapter 31 and 32. Read the Bible every day so you'll be full of faith. Chapters 31 and 32 are both about preparing for battle. Chapter 31 discusses the battle against the Midianites, and chapter 32 sets the stage for upcoming battles against Canaan. However, before the battle, there arose among the people of Israel a diversion regarding the desired objectives. So let's examine chapter 31 and 32 and see what relevance that they have to the lives of Christians today. In the first two verses of chapter 31, the Lord spoke to Moses, instructing him to avenge the people of Israel on the Midianites. This mission represented God's final directive to Moses, the concluding battles before his passing. So why were the Midianites to be attacked? Because they led the Israelites into idolatry and sexual immorality, Ashita. God decreed vengeance upon them for bringing death, corruptions, and idol worship among the Israelites. Consequently, 24,000 Israelites died as a result. Although God had appointed Joshua to succeed Moses, the duty of the chapter 31 still fell upon Moses. Thus, it is essential for every successor to understand that trust God and place their lives in the mission that He assigns them. One cannot just claim to have fulfilled their role as a leader of the next generations and neglect the task God has entrusted to them. Moses had to ensure vengeance upon the Midianites to fulfill his duty before his passing. Chapter 32 marks Joshua's responsibility, but Moses had yet to fulfill his obligation. Before examining the subsequent chapters, it is crucial to understand how to continually fulfill the trust of God that places in our lives. In verses 5 to 6, each tribe contributed 1,000 men, totaling 12,000 warriors, and considering that there were 32,000 Midianite women who hadn't slept with men according to the records in chapter 31. The male populations available for battle was likely between 40 to 50,000. Moses selected only 12,000 soldiers to fight, accompanied by Phinehas, holy vessels, and trumpets, signifying a battle of holiness against idolatry and immorality. This battle reflects the struggle Christians face against desire of flesh, corruption, and idolatry in their lives. Many Christians, even after baptisms, are unaware of the eternal battles they must face against their fleshy desires, immorality, and idolatry. This battle, referred to as the battle against flesh, immorality, and idolatry, is depicted in chapter 31. During the battle, victory was achieved. So they thank and praise the Lord's grace, ensuring that none were lost. However, from verses 13 to 18 reveal an unexpected turn. The people turned victorious, rejoicing and capturing many prisoners. Yet Moses, akin to the commander returning from the battle, was angry. So why was Moses angry? It was because the captives that they brought back, these captives include women who had seduced the Israelites into sinning at Peor, and resulting in a plague upon the congregation. These women are indicated in the Hebrew text that they were married women and who have engaged in idolatry and sexual immorality. They were the ones that intended to defile the Israelites, leading to God's wrath. Moses understood God's intention, which is why he ordered the killing of these women and all the male children. This may seem harsh, but it was necessary to prevent future corruptions and retaliations from these children. Natural human compassions and justice often will stray from God's will. You might question the cruelty of killing these women and children, but there is a reason behind it. So let's examine 3 key points. First, why were these people to be killed? Because the value of life in the hands of the gods is not in the length of our lives. We will all face resurrections and judgment in the future. And for believers, resurrection leads to life, while for those against God, it leads to condemnation. So therefore, these children's lives ended on earth because before they committed any sins, but in the judgment, they will receive a new life, even to learn about God's truth in the future. So this shows God's mercy. And secondly, if these adulterous women were not eliminated, it will lead to the entire Israelites community to sin. This will disrupt God's plan for Israel to serve as priest and for the Messiah to come from the tribe of Judah. The plan of Satan from Genesis to Exodus was to eliminate the Messiah. If the Midianites women led Israel into sin, the Messiah couldn't emerge from the sinful community and therefore nullifying the plan to save the world. This is the true cruelty because salvations and redemptions will be lost. Sometimes we may view God as cruel in the Old Testament for killing many people, but his intention is to stop sin from spreading further and to provide an opportunity for redemption. Thirdly, we might find it cruel to kill the Amalekites and the Midianites, but God's demands were higher for Israel. He endured 400 years of patience before completely driving out the Canaanite tribes. However, when the Israelites complained during their journeys and opposed their leaders, God struck them down. Thus, God's judgments upon the Amalekites and the Midianites was their final judgment, preventing them from continue on in sin. Yet, God's judgment upon Israel was more severe because they were held to a higher standard. Therefore, even though Israel executed the death penalties on the Midianites in these tribes, God's judgment upon Israelites was harsher and using plague to strike them. This isn't cruelty. It's about maintaining holiness in God's chosen people. From verses 19 to 24, God instructed the priest to sanctify the captives as offering to himself, demonstrating his care for the priesthood, even as the people who prospered, who were reminded not to forget those who prayed and shepherded them. Today, as we battle in triumph, we must learn the spiritual principle. So look at verses 48 and 50. The leaders of thousands and hundreds and fifties approached Moses, stating that none of their men were lost, acknowledging this was God's grace. So in verse 50, he talked about bringing the gold, the bracelet, the beads, and all kinds of things to the Lord as offerings, tributes to atone for our lives for him. So these leaders have matured and grown as they come before Moses to offer sacrifices and to present offerings to atone their lives. That this brings two crucial spiritual principles for every Christian today. The first principle is that the more battles you engage, the more abundant you become. Many may feel weary and see warfare as loss. However, in God's perspective, the more battles that you engage in, the more abundant that you become. With each battle, you gain more tributes, more offerings, more strength, and more capabilities. Therefore, dear family, do not fear warfare. A mature Christian leads others into battles and does not shy away from it, saying that, let the leaders handle it. I'll just be a regular believer instead. Through warfare, you not only obtain these tributes, but also offerings, not only enriching you, but also providing for others. So this is the most important spiritual principle of warfare. The second principle is to atonement for your life through warfare. Why? Because during the process of warfare, they discovered the terror of sin and death. God is severe against sin and death. And those who engaged in killings were required to stay outside the camp for 7 days before they could come in. Now, why were the Midianites to die? Because they sinned against God, worship idols, and thus offended him. Through the warfare, and these leaders realized the terrifying nature of sin and death. They understood that they couldn't ultimately die in sin, that they had to atone for their lives. And they sought God to preserve their lives and enabling them to live in holiness continually. Therefore, as Christians today that we're engaged in warfare, do we learn that sin and death are terrifying? That we must continually draw up on the redemption of the blood and drawing up on the mighty power of Jesus Christ in our lives, ensuring our warfare is victorious, powerful, and that we remain safeguarded in the eternal life of Jesus' salvation. So from verses 19 to 24, they offer everything to God as a sacrifice. In chapter 32, it's about the confusion regarding the direction of warfare. So dear family, it's not just the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and the tribe of Manasseh who make mistake in chapter 32. Many Christians stumble in this chapter today. Therefore, we want to use chapter 32 to help every Christian. You must know the direction, the goal, and the outcome of your warfare. Once you are clear, you won't make the mistakes made by Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. So from verses 1 to 5 in this chapter, the tribes of Reuben and Gad saw the land of Jazer and Gilead, then east of Jordan, and thought it was good, and not realizing that it wasn't part of the promised land. This illustrates that the mentality of prioritizing immediate benefits before considering the future. So from verses 6 to 15, Moses rebuked them, saying, so how can you act this way? In the same sin that they have committed before, yet the two tribes realized their mistake, acknowledging the need to fight, but also recognizing the negative impact on their families and livestock. They put profit before kinship. So from verses 20 to 24, you see Moses corrected them, but also showed them mercy, allowing them to proceed. But look at what Moses actually said to them in verse 24. It says, build cities for your little ones and folds for your sheep, and do what you have promised. So Moses' emphasis on putting the welfare of their family and children first before tending to their livestock. This illustrates the prioritizations of interest, and interest always comes first with these people. So dear family, the entire chapter 2 reveals a common mistake that made by Christians. Why do Christians engage in warfare? Because warfare is meant to unite us with God, enabling us to reign with Him and to govern the earth. Warfare enriches us, expands our lives, because we are destined to enter the eternal new heaven and new earth. But many people engage in warfare only when they face immediate problems like illnesses, financial difficulties. They quickly rise up in warfare and seeking resolutions. Once their body or finances improve and their problems are solved, they stop engaging in warfare and saying, "Oh, thank you, Lord, for everything is okay now." Dear family, should we engage in warfare for the health of our bodies? Yes. Should we engage in warfare for our finances? Yes. Should we engage in warfare for our thoughts, emotions, and feelings? Yes. All these engagements are exercises to help us to fix our internal goals. We must reign with the Lord and fight against the devil in evil, injustice, and idolatry. These have no place in God's kingdom. This is our eternal warfare. So don't get it wrong. Therefore, the tribes of Reuben and Gad, after engaging in warfare for so many years, and saw such a good land, and they say, "Oh, this is good enough for us. That we are satisfied." Why do many people attend prayer meetings? They go because they have difficulties, illnesses, or troubles. So they attend prayer meetings to solve them. Once their problems are resolved, they will go back to their busy lives. Thus, in the church, it becomes a question. So who has difficulties and who attends prayer meetings? So once the problems are solved, there's no need to attend the prayer meetings anymore. Why should we attend the prayer meetings, and why should we engage in warfare in the secret place? Because we must align our lifelong directions with God. We must grasp our identity as priests and reign with the Lord and fight against Satan. Warfare in secret places fights against the darkness and corruption, preventing them from disturbing God's church and obstructing the destiny of those chosen ones. This is the eternal direction of our warfare. We are destined for the new heaven and new earth. Therefore, the tribes of Reuben and Gad engage in warfare to secure their dwelling place. But God wanted His people to engage in the warfare to conquer Canaan and to unite with Him and to wield His authority. Don't misunderstand the goal of warfare. Many Christians says that I engage in warfare. I pray because my recent work wasn't going well. I pray because my health wasn't good. I prayed because I have financial needs. Once the problems are solved, as they say, "Thank you, Lord, my warfare is complete. Hallelujah." Then they lose sight of the eternal purpose. God guides us through warfare to become more mature, to grow up. You need to become a son that who inherits this family estate, inheritance, a bride to prepare for the wedding of the feast. This is the eternal purpose of our warfare. So don't get it wrong. It's not about worrying for livestock for the sake of these material possessions. It's not even for your wives and children to be satisfied. Therefore, throughout history, those who engage in warfare, like the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, were always the first to get hurt, the first to get invaded. Even when Assyria came to wage war, they were the first to be destroyed. What seems good to men sometimes leads to the loss of our destiny and blessing before God. So from verses 25 to 30, indeed, these two tribes fulfill the promise. They truly waged wars and returned to the land east of Jordan, but their lifelong warfare was not for God's promise. It was for their own little piece of land. This is called fighting for oneself, saying that I will conquer the world on my terms. I will wage war for what I deserve. But the other 10 tribes circle around the land of Canaan. We see the gatherings of Jashar, and each time they went to war, God fought for them. They enjoyed the inheritance of the promised land. This represents two different kinds of lives. The life of an orphan, fighting for personal gain and earthly riches, and the life of a son, walking with God, inheriting all blessings inherited. So what side will you choose? What is your choice? From verses 33 to 42, they changed the name of these places to their own. Indeed, they obtained them first. So the half-tribe of Manasseh saw it and thought it was good, and following the footsteps of Reuben and Gad to walk the path of victory, that we truly need to continually join the fervent prayers in earnest pursuit of God's righteousness and peace, in strive for holiness, But if you walk towards the path of decay, that you'll find people are often easily tempted to go astray towards corruption. It may seem beneficial, abundant, and gracious, but God's promise and allowance are often different. We don't see the warfare as is for eternal goals, to inherit the estate and to prepare ourselves to sit with God in His reign, to govern this world and to enter into the new heaven and new earth to enjoy eternal blessings. Then in the life of a Christian, you find yourself with, just as described earlier, that you have engaged in warfare and in service in various works, but all for the purpose of solving your current problems. So many people give offerings to solve their financial problems because they believe that giving God will bring blessings. They attend prayer meetings to solve their current problems because they are facing difficulties. They engage in serving and to possibly gain praise from others to meet their needs, expanding their social circles. Yes, there is abundance. Reuben's family enjoyed abundance of outside of the promised land, but this isn't the greatest abundance that God wants us to inherit. So when you come to church today, so what do you want? That many get baptized and receive a baptism certificate just to obtain the status. That many participate in church service just to expand their social circles. And many come to church just to find future spouse. So many come to church just to solve the difficulty in their lives. And what about you? So don't mistake the direction of your warfare. Warfare is to line us with God's will and to become one with it, and to be true sons inheriting the estate, and true new brides to prepare for the wedding feast. Don't fight the wrong battles and don't walk the wrong path. Amen.
Dear families, we hope that you enjoy the Bible race as much as we do. If you are willing to volunteer to translate the original Chinese teaching into English or assist with video editing, please email service@360sunrise.com. Thank you.